Very good evening, friends. Welcome to the Readers and Writers Club online session. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, today will be a very exciting evening because we have two immensely talented professionals who are also writers coming on the same platform to discuss a book called Nautanki, Sala. And we have with us Mohua Chinappa, who is the author of the book, and Sourabh Mukherjee will be in conversation with her on the book. Don't miss even a minute of this interaction because I can assure you it will be one of the best evenings of the Readers and Writers Club events that we've hosted so far. So, without further ado, I will quickly introduce these two lovely people and then we'll hand it over to Saurav, who will take the discussion forward. I start with Saurav. Sourabh Mukherjee is a certified master practitioner and trainer with NFNLP, a certified practitioner of transactional analyst. He is also a certified past life regression therapist. With over 2 decades of experience in leadership and training, he is a facilitator and coach who reaches out, coaches individually, and conducts modular workshops through Another You, a concept company for healing, mentoring, and coaching. He has conducted workshops in Delhi, Pune, Bangalore, Kolkata, Guwahati, Rishikesh, Raipur, Shillong, and so on. His core areas of impact are educational institutions, teachers and students, sports persons, and corporate professionals. Other than healing and facilitating workshops, he is a published author who writes children's fiction. Saurabh, we are delighted to have you for the very first time on the Readers and Writers Club page.
Thank
And
you, and
good luck
very,
to
very
you.
generous words.
I'm sure you don't
I don't
need it,
deserve
but
after all.
nevertheless. Okay, we come to Mohua Chinappa. Mohua Chinappa is an author, podcaster, voiceover artist, and branding specialist. She has over 15 years in leadership positions as a public relations corporate communications specialist. In her earlier stint as the national head of GCI, the public relations division of the Grey Worldwide Advertising Group, she has been responsible for bringing in business and creating campaigns for the largest brands in India and the international market. With her rich experience in other communications firms like Brandcomm, HCL, ITC, and Genesis PR, she has led teams towards successful brand campaigns. Moa has a 360-degree experience in the entire spectrum of managing a brand in 2018. She embarked on a new journey as a writer. She began a blog out of a cafe called MoodyMo. She writes from her heart as her blogs and articles extensively focus on brands that endorse gender equality, nostalgia, arts, and crafts of India. Mohua now hosts an extremely successful podcast called The Mohua Show, which is available on multiple platforms. In this space, she interviews artists, entrepreneurs, and individuals who are striving to create economic and social change called Imandari Se. Moa is currently on an entrepreneurial journey as a believer. Her endeavor is to give opportunities to individuals to share their stories, to inspire change, and create a platform for the unheard voices that need recognition and validation. Wow, Mohua, what a profile. Thank you so much for agreeing to discuss your book on the Readers and Writers Club platform. All the best to you. Have a wonderful evening in conversation with Sourabh. And over to you, Sourabh. All the very best. Thank you so
Thank
much to
you.
both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mohua, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right, great.
Okay, so at the very outset, uh, I take this opportunity to thank Ahava, Mona, and Shushruto both for this wonderful opportunity, wherein I would be uh, trying to hold an engaging conversation with a very, very accomplished and a gracious lady. I've had the privilege of meeting her at the Oxford bookstore, where I was an audience during her book launch. Many congratulations, Mohua,
Thank you so much.
and
Yeah, thank you.
and I'm sure whatever I could gather from the book is also doing well commercially. I'm very sure.
Yes.
So let me first show the audience this book, uh, Nautanki Sala. So let me share that I was able to read this collection of 15 stories in one sitting. So the points which stood out were, first is the simplicity of the language and the lucidity of the narration. This is something which intrigued me and engaged me while I went through one story after the other. The third thing which uh, piqued my curiosity was that it did not conform to uh, established ideas of genres, and we will take it up during our conversation as to what could have been the thought process behind such kind of a narration. I also like the idea that the author Mohua has made an endeavor to do the narration completely from her own perspective, but without being judgmental. So they are it's so engaging, and yet it is there is simply a flow. It's a flow of thoughts. One is tempted to say, if there was some amount of philosophy in it, that probably it could be an Irvin Shaw's kind of a train of consciousness or something of that sort. But again, I wouldn't want to categorize the book into any kind of genre. So I will leave it to Mohua to talk about it. I have also equipped myself with, a hot glass of tea. So maybe this is going to be, I'm being selfish. I don't know whether Mohua has it or not. So it's going to
Yes,
be
I have a
chai pe,
glass of water.
right? So chai or pani
Chai
pe
pe
chai.
charcha. Charcha. Zarur.
Hmm. So, okay. So without much ado, let me ask you, Mohua.
Yeah.
Uh, there are 15 stories in this collection, 15
Yeah.
short stories, and each story has a title. So the second one, if I'm not mistaken, is titled Nautanki Sala. So
Yeah.
yeah, so in my understanding, Nautanki is drama
Yeah.
in layman's language, and Sala is a mild Hindi expletive.
Correct.
What what prompted you to choose this particular title for the entire book? So this is something
Well,
which I was curious about.
so I think, the common theme that runs through the entire book is about people who have conquered, from the situations that they've come in from. People who've come to terms with certain situations that their lives, that they faced in their lives. People who have met, through the entire life journey of mine. So I think why I chose Nautanki Sala is because this protagonist is actually not really changing anything drastically in her life. She is a dancer in a village, and she's just moving on to go to the city to become and carry on with the same profession. But just that shift from the city, from the village into the city, that shift is a humongous shift, because I think through all my stories, displacement is a huge theme that comes through, because as a Bengali, many of us have seen displacement up close with our grandparents and with our parents, and what it does to people. And displacement till now, I think, was respected only when it was from one country to the other. But displacement happens every day for migrants. And I don't think too many people have really captured this. So that was my entire endeavor.
Okay, but where would you want to capture the drama part of it? So it's pathos. Yes, definitely there is a degree of compassion, and maybe people of our generation, uh, wherein we were just about grappling with the horrors of that war. And I
Yes.
know, I mean, being part of that fraternity, I know to what length the Indian Armed Forces had gone to, establish a certain degree of peace and order, uh, politically as well as, okay, we may not go on to that part of the conversation, but the human angle. So, so as I understand correctly, is it the drama in each of the narratives? Is that why you chose to call the entire book Nautanki Sala? And when why Sala?
Because she did leave a place where the man is actually, who's her lover's father, tries to make a pass at her, and she says Sala, Nautanki Sala. She says that to him. That stayed back with me, that she had the courage, and that's how the entire, we based the story. And of course, I worked with my editor also, and they said that this story had a lot of power, and so we chose this as the title. It's as simple as that.
Okay, so it's the drama is the underlying thread in
Yeah.
each of your narrations. Okay, okay. So now I think I'm on your page. What prompted you to write this entire collection?
I love writing. I think I express myself best with writing. Words are, I always say, is my first love, my knight in shining armor that comes for me every time I'm completely down and out. And this book was actually written in the ICU when my parents were taking turn with their illnesses. And
Okay.
every time I'm completely overwhelmed with life, I just take on to the any available gadget that's in front of me, and I start keying in words, and they somehow have this whole divine way of forming into stories and sentences. So I write all the time.
So it's actually it's been written, if I understand you correctly, on a
In
laptop as
house,
well as on a mobile phone.
on my mobile phone
On
mainly.
your mobile phone, wow, that is
Yeah.
uh, that is quite something. So this particular, since you mentioned this incident or this experience, it was based on a real life incident. This Nautanki Sala, this particular story.
Yes,
So,
most of the protagonists are people that I've met, and excepting for one or two. And yes, I have used creative license in in probably putting and weaving the whole story together. But yes, these are people that I have met.
okay. So I think it's across travels across the land and
Yes,
various
yes,
different kinds of people.
yes, yes. Also, Bangalore. I mean, Bangalore is a new city. It's a city that is just now with so many people from outside who've come into this place, and each of them have their own story. There are a lot of people from the east who've come in here. There are a lot of people from Bangladesh who've like probably hidden, and they're trying to hide their identity, but they want to earn some money and send back to their sick father or their unhealthy mother or the children or the sisters
Uh-huh.
and brothers. So yes, I have met people who've like traveled miles and not knowing what lay ahead. They've had the courage to cross over borders and cross over states without the language, without anything. And I think one needs to do justice to this entire human, catastrophe that we're seeing all around us. And we need to respect so many of them who have the courage to leave their little towns and come in to earn some money for employment and to ensure that their children back home get education.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I do agree. It is not only a way of living or earning a livelihood. I mean, I recently had an experience. I was on a train traveling from Andhra Pradesh. I was traveling from Calcutta to a small place where I stay now. So the whole train had so many people from Bangladesh who were on their way to Chennai. I
Yeah.
think it's a, yeah. So
Yes.
they have a lot of faith in our medical fraternity. So I
Totally.
think
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you see, there is a song by I think Peter Sarsdet. If I
Okay.
so where do you go to my lovely? I think Anjan Datta made it famous through the Bengali rendition called Mala.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so
It's such a
there,
beautiful song.
yeah. So the common refrain is, "I want to look inside your head." So that would be my endeavor. So some of the questions would be common to all the stories, and maybe then I'll pick one or two, and then we will talk about the individual stories as we uh, go on. Your style of narration is extremely engaging,
Thank you.
and it's very lucid, So, did you subscribe to a particular style of writing, or like I have seen in lit fests when there are certain established authors, they talk about their styles of writing, contemporary authors too. So I have heard I think Ashwin Sanghi, he uses an Excel sheet to write, to structure his narrative, and he puts bits and pieces together. So, do you have any structure and any way of putting together a story, or how do you go about writing when the idea, starting with when you conceive the idea in your mind, and then you
I
put it
just
down on paper?
write. I just write, Saurabh. I have no clue what you mean by structure. What do you mean by all of that? I just write about things that I feel. I write when I'm in pain. I write when I'm happy. I write when I have grief. I write. I write every day. I
Okay.
write. Like I said, right? Words is my knight in shining armor. Helps me
Okay.
sail through in life. Yes. So
Okay.
I write. I don't know what you mean by structure. I probably after, maybe a few more books, I probably would be able to say that, yeah, I use my mobile phone and I'm writing all the time. So I enjoy writing. It really keeps me. I just lost my father on the 2nd of August, and it's not been very easy for me emotionally. And so every time there is, when I feel overwhelmed, and which I do every day, I write.
Okay. No, the structure thing came only when it came to my mind. This gentleman, he mentioned that he has an Excel sheet in which he
No, I don't have an
puts
Excel sheet
together
at all.
bits, and then there are
I
there are
just
certain
have
people who,
No, I just have a mobile phone and sometimes my iPad, and I listen, I switch off. There's a switch off button that happens, and I of course work very well when I listen to music, because
okay.
then I drift with my music. And I often wish that if I was in a place that is quiet without the sound around me, I think I would be able to produce better work than what I'm doing right now, because this is really written in the cacophony of all the duties that I have to perform all the time. And I think I will write even better if I was in a hill station, and because I love the mountains and I can listen to music without any sound around me.
Okay. So that's quite a revelation, creating this kind of absorbing literature in the cacophony of life, huh?
Yes, I
And
do.
being able
Yeah.
to
I've
give it
written
a
it in a printing in the printing press also, while I was trying to get another job done, because I do quite a few things. So there's just a button that I switch off in my head, and then I again switch on. So yeah, but I would like to really hone my process going forward.
okay. So you also have a plan for an audio version of the book or something.
Yes, I do have. I
There
haven't
are
yet
that's a
really.
very popular medium, I suppose,
Yes.
nowadays.
Apparently, yes, and definitely, because I myself, I am, I do podcasts, And I do
No.
believe that it really helps, to be able to continue to do your chores, and you can listen to amazing podcasts from all over the world. So, I mean, books, I love the smell of page. I love the smell of paper. So I love having books. Maybe I'm old school in that sense. And,
Yes.
I am quite old school. I quite like the idea, so my parents' homes also got a huge library, and he was all the time getting books from Kolkata. And I like books. I like the smell of a book. I like a new book. I like to surround myself in a library, and I think it centers you
Yeah,
somewhere.
this is actually something to be experienced. I mean, only if one loves books. Even if you remember, when we were growing up, the new academic books after we got promoted,
Yes.
I would take those
There
books
in
and
Bengali, there's a
sell it
word
on
called molat. And
Molat.
my
Yeah,
molat, and my mother used to very, very beautifully do the brown paper molat on it. The cover
brown
is
paper.
called molat for people who are not, yeah.
Then,
And she used to tuck it in on the sides, and she had
yes,
this
and
amazing
put a
way of
little
doing it.
sellotape on. Yeah.
Yeah, sellotape also, no, I think she just tucked it in and she pressed it hard and it stayed,
Okay.
and it formed its own groove.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we
And the
come from
smell,
that world.
smell of
The
that
smell of books,
newspaper.
absolutely.
The
Yeah,
newspaper
yeah,
every morning. The newspaper
yeah,
would
yeah, yes,
was
absolutely.
open a thing, and I don't know whether
Yeah,
one should
yeah,
publicly be acknowledging such a thing, but yes,
yeah. No, no, no. The smell
frankly,
of paper and new books is amazing. It's a
I
beautiful
I
fragrance.
I think the newer generations would be missing those kind of things. Like
Yes,
as the years
I
go
too
by,
think
I'm
so.
sure, yeah,
Absolutely.
everything goes online, like our conversation. So we are
Yes.
speaking to an
But it
audience who's
makes the world easier to communicate.
yeah, it
And
does.
I'm really all very pro technology, because I mean, I would have not been able to come back if there was no technology.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
It's just that we're a little challenged myself. As
Yes.
far
Me
as
too.
technology goes, if the God forbid if the link goes away, I would be floundering.
Me too. Join the gang.
Okay, so let me come back to the book. Okay, I've written down a small note. So your central characters in each of the stories are all women. The, the protagonists, actually. But none of the protagonists they fall into a classic feminist category. So I was curious. I just wanted to know what was your thought process when you gave shape to these characters, as it is like I said, genre is one thing. It is also not a feminist kind of a book. So as a man, probably it's a good thing that I could be able to ask you such a question. It's not a feminist book at all. you know is there a message you are wanting to convey in each of these stories
And
by not
like I
category?
said, these are real people that I met, and these most of them are people who are not from, very great Ivy League, institutions, or from great colleges. These are regular people who are shifting because of employment, who are shifting because to earn a little bit of money. A bar dancer, a person who's lost her child was probably a theater actor. So these people are not, they don't have the luxury of thinking about feminism. I mean, they've just had the courage to pave a path for themselves without even acknowledging the kind of strength that they've probably delved into themselves. And I don't think when I wrote these, I just wrote because they were in my heart. And when I fell ill, all I had was these stories that stayed back in my heart. And I said that I need to write about all these things, because like I said, I enjoyed the entire process of writing. I love writing. And if you were to ask me whether this is feminist literature, whether, yes, it is, of course, from the lens of a woman. And because I am a woman myself, I think I would be able to understand a woman's predicament a little more deeper than a man. But well, the world is changing, and men are, now, eh, they're all evolving to kind of support a whole lot of situations that my mother and my grandmother faced, which they,
Yeah,
which we
it is
don't.
very relatable.
Yeah,
If,
so
if,
I
if
don't think there is
you
yes,
fixate on the whole
feminism.
idea, no, that it's a
Yeah,
branding, or
it's
it has to be the
yes,
women first, or an Arab Spring, or a
it's
movement.
just you.
There's
Yeah,
nothing of
it's
that's the whole
no, no.
engaging part about this collection. That see, life is for me. I mean, it's my personal way of looking at this book. It's all a series of events and experiences without outcomes. Every experience need not have an outcome. It's just an experience. That's how we tend to live life. And your Nautanki Sala, the entire thing is the characters. They are only living their lives. That makes it very very relatable. So, so,
Yes,
so
aren't we all?
yeah, so I mean, I have not actually found this kind of a narration in like the poignancy, the compassion, the empathy, all these qualities. They would, I mean, if you read a Somerset Maugham, or or an AJ Cronin, yes, definitely the knowledgeable audience, they would be able to, a book like Human Bondage. Okay, there is that degree of pathos, the bind of the story, but here it is only narration, which is so unique. And the USP would be it's a shallow word, but it makes it really engaging. It's just
Thank
a
you.
series of narrations. It's very nice. It seems like they are just anecdotes. So when you interacted with some of these people, maybe Baku, or say Mamoni, as in Mrs. Chatterjee. So was it over a period of time, and then you put your thoughts together at one point in time, and you wrote all these stories down, or did you continue to record them in your head, or probably type them down as and when they occurred?
No, I didn't. They stayed back in my heart. I knew somebody who was like Mamuni. I knew a lady who in Shillong who lived her life without love, and yet she gave love, back. And she herself was not loved. She was not. She never found love with her in her marriage, but she learned to love everybody else around her. There are so many women like that. As
Yeah.
far as Baku goes, it's also. I mean, I was raised in Shillong, so Assam, the backdrop of Assam, Shillong, Delhi. These are the things that are very predominantly significant impact, or they come through in my stories. So Baku again is like so many of them who've got this whole wish, of wanting to learn English, wanting to,
Yeah.
wanting a chance in life to let go of working in someone's home and becoming somebody else's wife. And as children, we sometimes don't realize that we hurt people. And
Yes.
when you grow
And
older,
yes, carry
when
on,
you
please.
grow old yeah when you grow older, you have cognizance of things that you might have done, and there is no way you can say sorry, so and you don't know how to apologize. So my only way, I felt that for the people that I may have hurt unknowingly, I would like to say my sorry through this book, so that
Yes.
anybody else who's reading this would know that we need to
Yeah.
be cautious in dealing with people's feelings.
Yeah, sure. And it's not about gender, you see. I mean,
No,
it
it's
is
not.
about people. I mean, I have had similar experiences with people who worked in my home as I grew up. And I would say at that point in time, I did not have this kind of a realization. So in
Yes.
like, since you mentioned that Baku, I remember a branch of my family, just digressing, in Agartala. We had a house like that, and there were so many of these fruit trees, uh, lychee and mango. Not I don't particularly remember guava, uh, but I think this pink variety of guava is actually found in northern India and Banaras and places like that. So we could pluck fruit from those trees, standing there on the roof, and we have done that. So I
Yeah.
could really relate to it. Plus, uh, these people, Okay, without even categorizing. So I know, it's not easy to express. The moments of epiphany have come much later.
Yes.
I have had experience, and when I have been rude, it's a similar thing what you narrated in that particular story, and I didn't realize it for a very long time, because they, in my warped and very limited logical mind, they were of that class, which I'm so ashamed of. And that particular time, I would have behaved in that manner. So it was not about a gender. It was not about that particular mashi or that particular dada with whom I have behaved in a rude manner. I really wish I can roll the years back, or probably reach out and say sorry at least. But
Just write a book.
I don't know whether I mean they would even read. Very engaging, one after the other. Which of your stories, of these particular stories, there would be more anecdotes, right? So they are only 15, since
Yeah.
it's been collected over a period of time. Which of these 15 is your favorite, if you were to pick one?
If I were to pick one, I think I enjoyed writing number three. Biswas will never speak about her. I enjoyed writing all of them, so it's very difficult. And I also liked Caged Bird. I broke down myself when I wrote Caged Bird. You
Okay.
know, when I read the first draft, and I couldn't stop weeping because I think I put myself in the shoes of the mother, where she
Hmm.
can't get out and reach out to her child. And being a mother myself, um, I kept thinking about the prisoners, women who find themselves in jail for reasons that they probably do not have an option, and what would
Uh-huh.
they do? So that's exactly where I put myself in, and I said, and I started thinking, on those lines, as to what would they do. So Caged Bird was something because was very close to me, and of course Biswas won't speak to her. Having been in Shillong for so many years of my life, that was very close to my heart.
Yes, I mean, in Biswas and Vajiri. So again, I mean, it is very relatable, again, from a man's point of view or from a woman's point of view. It could have happened with anybody, right?
Yeah.
And these are everyday events. It is also happening on a daily basis, at each part of, not just the country, but everywhere. So this particular character Vajiri, huh. I mean, the narration was so lucid. I have been in Shillong, not in those turbulent times, but I spent 2 beautiful years of my life there. I could, in fact, relate to the not just the Cherrapunji where she takes her final dive, but even those rolling hills where she has her this wine shop, no? Probably Lightscore and ahead of Limokra, those areas, no? those
Yes.
those beautiful places. Huh.
Yeah.
So, what what would have gone on in the mind of, or in the psyche of a person like Mr. Biswas, when he had that? Would you call it a relationship? Would you be able to give it a name?
Well, I
Can
I
you
just
talk
think
about it a little bit?
yes. So for me, I think from the perspective of writing this book was about Wajri. The Kasis are a matrilineal tribe. And men, when they get married, they move into the girl's house, and
That's
their
good.
children do not need to take the father's surname. But in
Fair.
spite of that, Vajri needed a man to complete her, because we are surrounded with patriarchy around us. We are still in a society where the father's name needs to be written. My surname needed to be changed when I got married, and we changed our entire identity. So here is this Khasi woman called Miss Wajri, who is independent economically. She runs her own shop, she lives on her own, but yet she needed someone to warm her out on those cold nights, a companion to hold on to, And there comes Viswas, who obviously, is who thinks that because she's a tribal woman and because she drinks, it's all right, probably for him, to give her that warmth for those few hours, but return back to his socially accepted image of being the man to his wife and the three children. He doesn't see too much of a guilt in doing what he does, and obviously a certain resignation that this is how it is going to be for me to survive. Maybe he was going through wanting that amount of closeness with another woman, but he did it at the cost of somebody else's heart, and he broke her trust. It's a
So
betrayal of sorts.
how would you define this relationship? Was it a relationship, or did he use her?
Of course, it is. No, I don't think I would say that two people, when they come together, nobody
Mhm.
wants to use one another. I think the way one would look at it is the person who is left behind would say that I was used. And
Mhm.
always, I don't think any relationship ever ends beautifully. It's a myth, and I don't know of anyone who can say who's ended their relationship, however amicably, will have the most nicest things to say, unless lots of time has passed by and still they would not say it, because endings are never ever beautiful. You end only when you know that it's coming to an end and it's over.
Okay,
So
we
I
will
don't
come
think
back
there
to
is a
that, Mohua.
yeah, so I don't think there is any there is a point of using, but then yes, there is a very very subconscious understanding that she's Khasi, and she can meet many more men, and she's obviously loose moral because she drinks, and she obviously does not fit into my scheme of things because she also eats pork and she eats beef, and we grew up in that Shillong. And we grew up meeting a. I grew up meeting a lot of women who were in love with Bengali men who never went ahead and got married to them. And of course, during the insurgency, the Khasis were, shooing all the Bengalis away. But there is a substantial amount of Khasi women who've gone through these pains of having met men from outside, who have just looked at them as. Those few years, a few months, or few moments of lust, and they moved on thinking that it will be all right because they are matrilineal, because they are probably strong, because they drink, and because they are not following the norm of the place they come from. And there are umpteen number of people like that. I know umpteen number of families where Khasi women have gotten married to men from outside, and they've had children, and then the men are absconding because they have other families elsewhere. And
So yeah,
yeah, so that's very common in Shillong. It was very very common.
so you opened up a huge, for want of a better word, uh, a large number of issues. I think we can address.
Mm.
We
Yeah.
started off with it being one of the picks in the entire collection. Now, my initial question was, when you talked about this, when you created this character, Mr. Biswas. Maybe there was Mr. Biswas, maybe by another name. Uh, how did you, from his perspective, what was it? And then I'll come on to certain other issues which you raised.
From his perspective,
From
which
his
part? I'm
perspective.
sorry.
Yeah.
His
Sorry.
perspective of his relationship with Vajri.
Of this, why? Yes. When it
It was
was
an
was it
escape.
was it the solace which he sought
He
from
it
Vajiri?
was solace, and he also felt bad for her that she was all alone, and he wanted to give her a bit of himself. He wanted to help her out, but he did not have the courage. He couldn't muster the courage to tell her that he would not be able to marry her, because he also didn't want to lose out on her and lose out on that warmth that he found with her.
So the
So
underlying
sometimes,
pathos. So I mean, sorry,
yeah, yeah,
I
please tell
just thought.
me, yeah.
Yeah, so the underlying pathos, it's actually, if you look at it, I'm realizing as I'm speaking to you, it is a two-way process. I
Yes, it
mean,
is.
our societal norms are such, the barriers, they're so restrictive. It takes a lot of courage to even, break the so-called taboo and accept, admit to a relationship which is beyond these norms. I have a wife and a children, and it is not okay for me to indulge in an extramarital affair. We are not questioning the right and the wrong of it. They're all societal norms. But It is not okay to indulge in it. It is neither okay, nor is it okay to talk about it. It is so. I mean, I don't know
There are
whether that is
multiple
out.
families in Shillong,
And
Saurabh.
not just Shillong. Yeah. So since I spent some time in Shillong, and since you mentioned loose moral, so I mean, we as modern people, let's uh, not
I'm
identify with
talking
our gender.
about this story during the 70s and the 80s, you
Yeah.
know. So if you look at it,
Even
it
then,
is
even
during,
then, even then. Now
yeah,
you
at
see,
that
it's
time in Shillong, at that time in
Mhm.
Shillong, the Bengalis always said that, they said aimless rain and shameless girls. That is what that was said all the time there, because it rains a lot in Shillong, and fragrance less flowers, and this was very commonly spoken about, and people didn't think that they had very high moral standards, unlike because they drank and they made merry, and
What
it was
was
very
his
easy for
attraction?
them to come out of relationships, and I don't think people took that too kindly. They never looked at it as empowerment. They looked at it as easy, and that's what I question here. And
Was
what I
it? I mean,
question in this entire, yeah, sorry.
yeah, I mean, so yeah, I'm just mulling. So was it just so then the natural conclusion is maybe then he was using, which we agreed that maybe he was not using. He was also looking for something. Maybe it's intangible,
Yeah.
huh? In that particular relationship. So I mean, we would define it as a relationship, and lot of those things, not just Shillong, Meghalaya, or say if we want to take it globally, this kind of a phenomenon has happened in during the American Vietnam War,
Yes, it
when
does.
when the American soldiers they came, and I wouldn't really say that they exploited the women there. I mean, it's difficult to look inside a particular soldier's head and say that, okay, what did you do? Why did you do it? But there are a number of people who took home their Vietnamese wives, and they and now very interestingly, you would find a number of Caucasians, people from the West, they come down to Southeast Asia, and they marry or they settle down. I don't know for what are reasons. I wouldn't say that they would be using it's a very interesting take on what society accepts and what it does not. Just wanted to discuss it out with you. Otherwise, it's
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
uh,
yeah.
so.
Absolutely, Saurabh. Yeah.
Huh. And I have seen like to take it further, say a dowry system. Okay, so dowry system also existed in the West, and the dowry, in fact, a reverse kind of a dowry system does exist in certain tribes in the Kashmir Valley, or beyond the Kashmir Valley, beyond the Pir Panjal and the Shamshabadi ranges. There are Gujjar communities who stay where the man provides the dowry and takes so many heads of cattle or something,
Mm-hmm.
and he takes home the wife. So and here, whereas in Shillong, I don't know. Just because a person would drink, or a person would smoke, or a person would eat, so you mentioned pork or beef, but that's everybody eats pork and beef there.
Well,
Go
were
down.
you talking about Shillong in the 70s and the 80s? The average middle class, outsiders, as they called us dockers. I don't think they were very open about this entire thing. We were always warned that do
That's
anything,
the
do
point.
not become like them,
We were
you
not
know?
open. I mean, I have a
Yeah.
question frame on that actually. So the middle class morality, we'll come to that. But today maybe it is more out in the open, maybe because of the media,
I
or
think a lot of people are also traveling out and they're coming and joining mainstream. I've met some amazing authors that are there from Shillong who've done some amazing work. There are beautiful, amazing musicians from Shillong that have made their name
beautiful.
nationally. The
Yeah, yeah.
Shillong choir is really
Choir
now
is
known.
famous.
Yeah, so now
Loma
it's only
was there.
now that people are talking really, about the Seven Sisters. Like I think in the 80s when I came into Delhi, they didn't understand there's a place called Shillong. They all thought it was Ceylon. And you had to take so long to explain to them that there is, like, there's Mizoram, there's Nagaland, there's Shillong, there's Meghalaya, and there's Assam, and there is Arunachal Pradesh, and
That's the larger debate.
yeah,
A person
Manipur.
who
And
has
so
not
yeah,
been to that part of the country
yes,
would
they
never
don't have the
realize
understanding.
that
Yeah,
anything east of this state of West Bengal
yeah, yeah.
is as
There are
large as probably the rest of geographically the rest of the country. And as far as
absolutely.
the diversity is concerned, my uh, one of my aunts, she's a linguist and she works in Shillong. I mean, we used to interact very often. She spoke about so many dialects and sub dialects and
Yes,
ways of living. With the
yes,
praharas, like every 3 hours when the time of the day changes. So there are sub tribes who change their clothing, how
yeah,
clothing is to suit the particular area and
yeah,
the weather
yeah.
and the climate, and how the food habits are to do so. I mean, everybody choose koi. I mean, your Vajiri also choose koi. So if we say that, okay, chewing koi is, nobody knows what koi is, right? So it does not necessarily translate into something which is, array. So we typecast. Huh? So just because this person smokes or drinks, so he's available. You mentioned that. So I really wonder if Mr. Biswas did smoke or drink or he also chewed koi, would he also be available?
As a
The
man,
the,
I
the
don't think he's
reverse.
going to look at him like that. Yeah,
I mean, just a
yeah, yeah.
interesting perspective for want of a better
Yes,
word.
absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, I just wanted to talk about your career. You're breaking the glass ceiling. You haven't had a fairly illustrious corporate career, spanned a decade and a half. You have broken glass ceilings. Do any of your protagonists identify with your growth as a successful woman?
I think this book I wrote at the time when I don't see myself like that, successful or anything, but these are words that you're using. I am still in the whole journey, Saurabh. I don't think like that. And this book was written when I was really down and out, and
Mhm.
I was really recovering from this entire space of realizing that I will never ever be able to get a job at the same position all over again.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
the career cut was something that I had chosen to take very, very unknowingly what it would do for me in the future.
Okay.
And yeah, so I think in this book, I don't think there are any of the characters with whom any of them have really broken the glass ceiling per se, but each of them have broken the glass ceiling in their own unique ways. They may appear to be small to the audience, and also when I speak, but I think they are humongous challenges for women who have crossed over, from smaller towns and they've come into bigger cities and they've navigated the language because Hindi is not something that's spoken in the east of India. So some girls who've gone into Delhi, they have to learn to speak the language. They have to learn to get, used to the harsh weather conditions there.
Uh-huh.
And so all of these things, I think each of them are heroic in their own way because for Mamani, for example, I mean, for
I
her
was
to
coming to
stay
that.
on, yeah, because her father was closing a debt and he was willing to send his daughter off into the Zamindari home, knowing very
You
well that
imagine
this was a trade-off.
resilience, the kind of resilience which the lady
Yeah,
had. So
the
that is what I was
innocence,
wanting to know.
not just the resilience. It is also the naive, naive. She's so naive when she goes into that house. She thinks that she will be accepted, but she's not, and it's only in some time that she realizes that there is no way back for her. So
And
Mamani represents a whole host of women who don't know the way back home, and they don't know what to call home any longer. Again, displacement. from
So
your
one of these
surrounding
very,
space.
very, so-called taboo uh, topics. I mean, you imagine being in that person's shoes just because that husband has access to and is powerful. He belongs to a powerful clan or a community, and uh, unashamedly in front of her, he carries out his dalliances with that other lady. I mean, that is something really amazing, and I'm sure in no such society that should be a
I'm sure it,
permitted.
sure of it happens even now. I'm sure because if a woman doesn't have the economic ability to step out, they will have to just swallow that entire sense of self and continue. And so many of them are ridden with diseases sometimes, or they die early and they die with grief forever. Because just like Mamuni, she did not have a way back home. There are so many Mamunis all around us. You step out of the street and you're going to find so many women who are constantly compromising because they don't know how to go back, because that, and also that becomes their social identity, and
Mhm.
they don't know how to get out of that trap. In Mamani's case, she was very, very naive. She's
To
not
start
even
with, maybe.
aware.
To
Yeah,
start with,
she is
I
naive as a
would I
person.
would stick to my
Yeah,
resilience part, because over decades, would you could
when you
you
don't
as
have
Mamoni be so naive and carry on for decades, knowing full well what is happening right in front of her?
she is obedient, isn't she? She's obedient also to the entire
Obedient,
circumstance.
subservient. But
She's
imagine, I mean, she has the
subservient.
same set
Yeah.
of emotions that as we do. So, bringing me
Many
back to
people
that
don't
question. See,
recognize those emotions. They don't recognize them sometimes.
we do.
And it's
We
important.
probably
Yeah, many
bottle them
times,
up,
many
or
people, yeah, they don't recognize and they push it away because, also to come to an understanding that do I deserve this is a question that I think so many women, even today, women, men are asking themselves, do I deserve this bad ill, if you're treated badly by someone, in your head, you probably, many women feel that maybe I deserved it and, I shouldn't have done this. I will do this better. But they don't realize that, in the first place, this is a wrongdoing.
Mhm.
So I don't think Vamani even had the luxury of questioning anything around her. She knew that she was intelligent enough to know that
So
she had to stay there, so she had to
would you
make peace
identify
with
with
that.
her? That was my original question. See, again, why I'm asking you
I
this is
don't think
there are
I would
protagonists
identify
who
with.
are strong characters, who have in the end they have taken their own lives. Virgiri,
Yeah,
matrilineal society,
yeah,
empowered, everything, and I don't know what happened to her. At the end, she did so. Even in that triangle, when the husband is that story, he's with another man, and then she realizes as to why her marriage is
Janamati.
not consummate, I suppose.
Yeah.
And she takes her. I'm sure Mohua is a fighter, and she personally does not identify with that kind of a tragic end. Rather, it's an unfortunate end. Who amongst these characters do you personally identify with? Who is
Uh,
Mohua amongst them?
Mo was there in each of the stories in some part or the other. I think in Mamani's case, where at the end she's telling the little girl with her father to not look towards towards the house. Sorry, oops, I'm sorry. I think. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
No.
yeah, I can. I don't know about the audience, but I am enjoying this conversation. Yeah.
I have lost my. I can't hear you. Oh dear. My iPhone has fallen like really down.
Now I can't hear you, Mohua.
Will it be 2 minutes? Can I call that back?
Okay.
Absolutely sorry about this.
No, no, not at all. See, black tongue
Sorry.
probably.
সরি কি অবস্থা পড়ে গেল বলো tell me where were we.
So we were with identifying with the Mamoni category of ladies, or the people who took their own lives.
So I think
I am of the opinion, after interacting with you, even though limited interaction, that you are not a loser, achiever or not. That
well,
you are, self-depreciating, but definitely you're a fighter. But
I,
you are not the that jhanda khada karne wala, that kind of a,
yeah.
you're not that. You are a very genuine person. Yeah. So
Thank you so much. I would like to, yeah. But I think Vajri is somebody I've met somebody like her. Mamuni is somebody I've met someone like her. And their stories have stayed back because now when I grow older, I keep thinking, how did she have the resilience, to raise, in Mamuni's story, I think I can turn this into a really large story. She raised her, the Mamuni, the real Mamuni that I knew, she raised her husband's mistress's child,
oh,
and she was hoping that they will love her, but they never loved her. The children never loved her. They knew that she had the keys to the jewelry box, and she had the keys, and and she led a very lonely life. And I mean, I try and put myself in her shoes to think that the husband has passed away and he's not giving you love. He's actually gone ahead and had a child with his mistress, and you probably not been able to bear a child for whatever reason, whether it was he not having sex with her for or not consummated their relationship, or the fact that he never found her attractive, and for you to resign to that entire thing. And I think so
yeah,
many of us resign to so many situations around us. So to identify, one part of me would be that if I were to see someone who's going through that same trap, I too would tell that person to not do that. That would come deeply from within me. If I've had some sort of awakening at any particular level, or some sort of experience, and I think somebody else would be making the same mistake, I will for sure stand up and tell that person that don't do this. I've gone through this in life. So yeah, with each of the characters, I have been able to walk away from situations that didn't work out for me. It has not been easy. And well, even fighting my disease has not been a very easy thing. Moving into a state,
okay.
that I felt very displaced, very, very badly alienated. And I figured my way out. So I think I can relate to each of the characters in some certain form, in the stories.
Let's go to
Does that
the
answer?
other. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, there are no rights or wrongs. I was just curious. We talked
Okay.
about bottling up in this particular case. Let's go to the other extreme, the rage,
Okay.
the rage part.
Rage, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Would you the acid, will that be identified as the problem, or would it be the rage? And what could be the remedial measures?
Oh,
Society is a very
remedial.
generic kind of. I mean, what kind of an
Yeah.
education do we, uh, you know, uh,
I think to
impart?
begin
How do we
with
address such issues?
I think men have to be taught to respect no. They need to learn to respect. I mean, look at this recent case of Aftab Poonawala, and then there's another boy called Abhishek, who slit the girl's throat on social media. So we every day these this is happening every day in front of us. So rage of rejection is nothing uncommon. Even today, there are so many acid victims, in India, and obviously the person has been jilted, or probably the girl has moved on and he's not been able to take that, or she's chosen someone else and he's not been able to understand or know, and it's rage. Rage doesn't really have a gender, religion, nothing. It
Yeah,
is
it
just
doesn't.
that
In case of Mr.
sheer
Das,
ego.
yeah, in case of Mr. Das, I mean, the poor guy. What does he have to do to have his face broken?
But that was happening to every Bengali
Yes,
in
yes.
that time
But
during the 80s.
he
Yeah.
personally, yes, I'm privy to yes. This, I mean, this was an unfortunate chain of events which happened. But
Yes.
okay, now since we
Very,
are
very
on that,
unfortunate.
and that the time also I see it's a little less today in Shillong. I've been to Shillong. I've been there in say maybe 2017 to 17 to 19. I've remained there. It is really different from the times you have experienced. You have reiterated home several times. Your identity and home, they are recurrent refrains. So if Shillong was to invite you back and say, would you call it a home now? How would you define your home that way?
This has been my
Would you-
eternal quest, I think, Saurabh. I don't know what to call home any longer. I think as much
where
as
the heart
I
is?
drift back
Would your
into
heart be there?
Shillong,
Shillong is a beautiful place.
my my heart is in the hills and in the butterflies and in the clouds and in the rain, but the practicality of being called a docker in my initial years of my life and being constantly subjugated to fear around me is not something that I've yet gotten over. It's a process. I need to get over that, about how
How
we
do we
had to
change
leave
that? That was my
overnight.
next question. How do we change that? We've had our sufferings, but we do realize that at the end of the day, it is us who are creatures of our own suffering.
I'm not so wise, sure yet. I still hold on to a grudge.
How do we overcome?
I don't think I
Let
am
go.
really wanting to answer that question. I've not been able to let go, and I don't think I've been able to let go yet. I
Okay.
will
So
someday, maybe.
okay, we'll look forward. It's a beautiful place, huh? So let's change track. Maybe one odd question I'll fit in before our time runs out. Mm, Rajjo was a very,
Yeah.
very intriguing story. You know,
Mm,
uh,
yeah.
maybe not related. I read a Wilbur Smith book. I think When the Lion Feeds, where
Hmm.
Sean Courtney and Duffer Charliewood, they had this beautiful relationship between a man and a man, which is not a homosexual relationship. They're just friends. And
Hmm.
the author mentions, I mean, he's a very, very powerful author. He mentions that it is probably the strongest bond in humankind, the relationship between a man and a man, where there are no sexual connotations. There's nothing of that sort involved. There are no other. It's just it's just a bond which is intangible. So, in sharp contrast, how would you not just categorize? How would you define the relationship between Rajjo and this you? It's a, I mean, the barter, it goes on and on, and it becomes
Raju,
more and more personal. So
yeah.
how do
I think
you?
it's a lot of alter ego because all of us, I mean, each of us have the gypsy in us, and each of us have the other girl in us who wants to hold on, who's acquired all these things, and yet we want, we're all sailing in the same boat as people. So this was like an alter ego of hers, that she sees her own reflection in the other woman. And of course, this is a story that's not real. It is not a real person I met, but yes, I used to meet a whole lot of these. Migrants who traveled down from Rajasthan, and they
Yeah,
came with
yeah.
such, they were hypnotically good looking women,
Yes.
and they knew what they wanted, and so from there I couldn't ever forget. There was one that I used to meet on a regular, traffic signal in Delhi, and so I traveled back with her, and I chatted with her once when there was huge traffic, and so that stayed back, that conversation, and that's where again I use it, the creative license, and I created that whole story.
But it's beautiful. How does that Rajjo or that you look at oneself in the mirror when you talk about that reflection?
We're all alike.
There's no judgment.
We're all
There
alike
isn't.
somewhere. We're all doing transactions in some form or the other. You
Yeah.
know, it's how, yeah, everything is
It's
transactional eventually in life. What
yeah,
is
it's
not
a
transactional?
it's
Sure.
a really intriguing story, and yes, those kind of people, they are there. I've spent a decent number of years in Rajasthan too, and there also
Yeah.
in the deserts. Now there's hardly any desert, but there are these people who roam around, nomadic,
Yes.
and
Yes.
they have these plastic sheets instead of tarpaulins earlier. So,
Mm.
and they also sell this oil and all that, no? Sanda ka tel
Yes.
and all that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're right, the doe-eyed and light-eyed
Yeah.
ladies,
Yeah.
and very, very outspoken and progressive.
Very outspoken, and they are, I don't know whether the word is progressive, but they are
Oh yes.
fearless.
I mean, they don't shy away from
Yeah.
making a conversation or anything. It's not
Yeah.
that you under that
Yeah.
balloon bala, that typical, we have that mindset now that Rajasthan. No, it's not like that.
Yes.
It's there.
True.
So I don't know. I had a lot of questions, but I think our time has run out, and unless Shushuko permits more. I was also wanting to know about a red herring. If I were to introduce a red herring, hmm, Jeffrey Archer had one whole book of 12 stories where each one of them had a red herring, and probably you could alter the end. Which one of your 15 would you address, and how would you do it?
If I were to alter the end, huh?
Yeah, it
Well,
could probably have happened differently if that's the hypothesis. So,
rage or rejection.
okay,
If I had a
how?
choice, I would.
Ah, you
That the
had.
boy would
You are the creator. You are the creator.
the yeah, the boy would have had enough sense to know that he's being rejected, and it's time for him to understand that, and for the sister to actually support him in a decision like that, and to just shatter someone's dreams like that. How disgustingly selfish and how disgustingly terrible you can be as a person to be able to destroy another human being. So if I had a way, I would probably make it like a lovely goodbye between the two of them, and how rage would turn into empathy if I had a chance.
They do happen, and see, mindset is actually so regress. Today we are in an age of these dating apps and the Tinder and the Bumble and all. Still, this regressive mindset continues. I really do
Yes,
not know how it can be addressed through some kind of a structured education system or what. I mean, what do they teach you at home, kind of a thing? Where do we where do we stop these kind of incidents from happening? I mean, you cannot just typecasting. Okay, in so and so state this happens. No, it happens everywhere, and across genders. That's a
yes,
different, maybe it'll be an eclectic discussion we'll have. Some. It's just an identity we've taken on. As far as
yes,
Sanatan Dharma is on, gender is the first identity we take on, and it is an
correct.
expression, a dominant expression of who we are, and how our karma is supposed to be served through that, taking on that. We have both qualities,
Yes,
the masculine as well as the feminine. It's
yes,
it's one.
absolutely.
Yeah. So where do we, when can we say we'll put a stop to this middle class morality? People in the cliche high societies, they
Mhm.
do enjoy a certain degree of a liberal lifestyle, and if you look at when we have these strata, even the lower the classes. I mean, it's not denigrating the class in any way, but they also live a certain kind of a liberalized kind of a lifestyle. You, especially when it comes to relationships or short affairs, and it's constantly happening. It's only our this sandwiched middle class where we tend to do it, but we keep it under wraps. Oh, this
Yes.
thing happened. So and so is he
They're
very
holding on to the sanskars.
the piku, yeah, that the previous the Satitre piku thing, na.
Yeah, yeah,
Balishe
yeah.
Balishe chul chilo or something, na, he says.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, we tend to, maybe one day we are going to be progressive enough, and
Yes,
you know,
we
so
will.
the need to address such stories may be rendered redundant. But till then, I think Mohua, it was. This is a very very unique kind of a book, as I
Thank
mentioned,
you.
with
Thank you so
a
much.
large number of narrations, non-judgmental, very very
Mm.
lucid. A person who has been in such a place would definitely identify with those places and those kinds of incidents. And once we've gone through the book, and now face to face as we speak, and also for the benefit of this invisible audience, it was it was an eclectic discussion. We went back and forth.
Thoroughly enjoyed it, Saurabh. Thank you so much.
I did, yes. So thank you, Mona.
Thank
She's
you. Thank
appeared
you,
like a
Mona.
genie. And
Thanks.
is there time for other people to ask the author
Saurabh,
some?
there hasn't been any questions, but we've had a lot of viewers. Uh,
Okay.
what a riveting conversation this was. I was here throughout listening to both of you. It was very engaging, sort of. Seriously, I mean, you did a wonderful job moderating this session.
So
And
unicorn.
Moa, I really liked the way you responded. You're so candid, you're so humble, so gracious. We really, from my heart, we really, really enjoyed this interaction. And I wish we could have this again and again and again. A very big
Thank you.
thank you from the Readers and Writers Club, from Shushruto and I, to Saurabh and to Moa for giving your precious time, for engaging in such an in-depth conversation and analysis of the book, and much, much more than the book both of you went to. So it was very, very, what should I say? It was a learning experience. Honestly, I was on the learning curve listening to both of you. So thank you very much.
That's
And
very
all the
gracious.
best to both of you as writers,
Thank you.
as critics, as readers. Please encourage aspiring writers to write like you, to think like you, to interact like you. And God bless both of you. And a very big thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mona, and all the best
Thank
to
you
you,
so much.
Mohua, for your
Thanks, Shuru.
further
Thank you. I
ventures. Thank
enjoyed
you,
it.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.